Hi, my name is Haley, and these are the top 5 books I read in 2019. I missed out doing this video last year, so I'm making sure to get it in this year. Coming in at number 5 is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This is an adult romance book about the son of the President of the United States and the grandson of the Queen of England and their forbidden romance. This is Casey McQuiston's debut novel, and I think for a debut it was amazing. Probably one of the best debuts I've ever read. I had some problems with it, and I personally felt like this book peaked in chapter 1. I loved the first chapter. I thought that was perfect. Part of my problem is it's an adult book, but I felt that the characters spoke very young. Felt like it was written as a YA book, and then the author wanted to include some sexy scenes, and so she aged up the characters but left their dialogue as like high school aged dialogue, and their actions too just seemed really like immature to me. That just kind of took me out of it a little bit. Even the adults in this book, like, it was very just, like, silly. I definitely think Casey is going to become one of my all-time favorite authors, and I'm so glad I read this book. Coming in at number 4 is Artemis Fowl by Eoin Colfer. Artemis Fowl tells the story of a young Irish boy named Artemis, and he's from a very wealthy family, but he wants more. He's not satisfied with his human wealth, so he and his bodyguard named Butler go on a mission to kidnap a leprechaun, and there's magic and spies and intrigue, and it's so much fun. I can't recommend it enough. I'm gonna say that my third favorite book of the year was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is Leigh Bardugo's debut novel, and I have read Six of Crows, which is her spin-off series set in the same world. However, I loved Six of Crows so much that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read her debut, even though I've just heard like it has less good ratings than Six of Crows. I just missed Leigh so much, I decided to read it. So Shadow and Bone tells the story of Alina, who is a young peasant girl in this medieval Russia type kingdom. And Alina discovers she has extremely incredible magical powers that make her of interest to the head of the military and to the royal family of this kingdom. So she's suddenly thrust into this brand new world, and it is a fun adventure. My problem with Shadow and Bone probably comes from the fact that I love Six of Crows, and my favorite thing about Six of Crows is that the characters are so cutthroat and willing to do whatever it takes, and there was not that cutthroatness in this book, and I just think that made me so frustrated. And but I really think that like it's still a quality book. I liked Alina. This book was like fun. It was fun. I liked it. It made me have a lot of emotions, which is always a good thing. If you want a roller coaster of emotions, read this book. If you want to be frustrated with your protagonist, there's plenty of that too. My number 2 book of the year is Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. I love her. So Maggie has another series called The Raven Cycle, one of my favorites of all time. And one of the main characters of Raven Cycle is Ronan Lynch, one of my favorite characters of all time. She has decided to write a new spin-off series all about Ronan, and that is beginning in book 1, Call Down the Hawk. I don't think it's a spoiler. Ronan's brothers are heavily featured in this series. They're elevated to main character status, and Maggie has truly done the impossible by making me care about Declan Lynch. I don't know how she did it, but he's one of my favorite characters now, and even though I hated him before, this book transformed me. I love Maggie's style. She's the only author who I actually enjoy her descriptions, which is a crazy task. Please read Call Down the Hawk. It's so good. It was great, but not as great as my number 1 book, which is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Honestly, now Ninth House is my favorite book of all time. It replaced A Court of Mist and Fury. Ninth House tells the story of Alex, who is a college girl. This is an adult book. She's a college girl attending Yale, and she is a part of the Yale secret societies. Here's a mind-blowing fact. Leigh Bardugo went to Yale. So this book is actually nonfiction about her life. Just kidding. There's a lot of magic, so probably fiction. It's very dark. There's so many trigger warnings. Please look those trigger warnings up. So not only was the romance in this book absolutely perfect, it was so intriguing. I love the love interest. They had a great story and great dynamic. But I also really love that this book, I just think the heart of it is like female friendships and female mentorships and how much that can mean to you. And I just love that because I think it's so true. Like, I think back on so many wonderful friendships I've had, and like me and my mom, and how much my mom has been there for me. And this book is like really a love letter to those relationships and how they can lift you up. It's so good! I hope everybody reads Ninth House. It was just the best book. I read 26 books in 2019. My goal, as always, was 50. Not quite there. I read like so many graphic novels this year. Oh, I'm looking at my Goodreads right now. I'm sad to say that I did technically read all 3 Belinda Blinked books by Rocky Flintstone by listening to the podcast My Dad Wrote a Porno, in which Jamie reads this like inspired by 50 Shades of Grey book series, self-published on Amazon by his like 60-year-old Irish father. And it's hilarious, but I'm also a little bit sad that those are 3 books I read this year out of 26. Whew. I also read a lot of graphic novels, so my page count is so much lower than last year, like 2,000 words lower. So that's a real bummer. I have new goals for 2020, baby. I'm gonna read 50 books and a lot more pages. I can do it. I know I can. Gonna get a head start in January. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear about the books you read this year. Did you read any of my top 5? Let's talk about it down below. And I hope you have a great 2020.